My name is Alaric, and this is the tale of how I saw the troops approaching from miles away, but no one believed me. A story from the depths of the medieval ages, where whispers of dread mingled with the clamor of hope, and where the worth of a person is often buried beneath misunderstanding. In a time when knights and battles shaped the very fabric of the world, my life was simplified, filtered through the lens of those who deemed me different. It was a brisk autumn morning in my village of Eldenwood, the sun barely peeking over the horizon, casting long shadows across the thatched roofs. I remembered the fresh scent of damp leaves and the gentle rustle as the wind swept through the trees like a spirit of old whispers. Yet, what should have been a day of tranquility quickly turned ominous. The dust rising in the distance was not from cattle or farmers, but from heavy boots marching in unison. As I stood on the wooden balcony of my modest home, the world around me melted into a singular focus. Troops, clad in armor and bearing the banners of a distant lord, were on the move. My heart raced with both fear and a strange exhilaration. I had seen the signs, and in my gut, I felt the weight of what was to come. It was a sight that struck deep within me, awakening an instinctual dread. But what good was my foresight if it fell upon deaf ears? I ran to the village square, my mind full of urgency. "The army approaches!" I cried out, trying to cut through the morning haze of laughter and mundane chatter. Villagers paused momentarily, their expressions ranging from amusement to bewilderment, yet they quickly resumed their gossip, dismissing me as the village's fool. "Poor Alaric, always dreaming," they said. My heart sank with each laugh as the realization struck me. I was seen as a simpleton, a young man whose thoughts meandered far from the common paths of practicality. Days turned into agonizing hours, and with every sunset, the depth of my desperation grew. The laughter of the villagers echoed in my earshow. They teased me, how they dismissed my warnings. I felt more isolated than ever. My hands trembled when I tried to communicate my fear to my closest neighbors, but their eyes remained clouded by skepticism. After all, I was Alaric, the one who often forgot words mid-sentence and struggled with simple tasks. Could they trust the word of a slow-minded fool? In their hearts, they had already judged me. But amidst the sea of indifference, one voice rose, a young girl named Emilia. She was different from the others, her heart open and her ears keen to listen. "If you see them, Alaric, then I believe you," she said, her small hands gripping mine in determination. Those words were a lifeline, giving me courage in a time of despair. With her unwavering faith, we began to plot not just my warning, but a way to rally others. Together, with Emilia at my side, we began to spread the word. Week after week, we gathered those who were willing to listen, no matter how few they were. We laid out rough drawings of the terrain and marked where I first spotted the marching troops in the distance. With every hand we shook, with every voice that swelled with encouragement, my conviction strengthened. Emilia's spirit ignited a fire in my heart, a kindled hope that we could change the course of our fate. Then, on what appeared to be an ordinary day, the ground reverberated under the weight of approaching hooves. My heart stopped. I rushed to the hill overlooking Eldenwood, my breath hitching in my throat. The unmistakable banners of war broke the horizon, and I knew, without a doubt, that my vision had not failed me. It wasn't just the tremor of earth or the echo of horns that struck fear into my heart. It was the mass of soldiers bearing down on us. My predictions had come true, and now I felt the weight of my responsibility. I raced back to the village square, adrenaline coursing through me as I shouted, "It's them! The army has arrived!" Panic descended upon the villagers like a swift shadow, realizing the truth that had eluded them for so long. At first, there was disbelief etched on their faces, but when the sounds of battle filled the air, the laughter faded into the depths of history. The jeers, the mockery, all fell silent as they looked upon me. The once dismissed seer of doom, the one who had sensed the wake of danger long before the rest. But my victory was bittersweet. The villagers, who had shunned me for my mind, now turned to me for leadership in chaos. Though gratitude flooded their eyes, it was mixed with guilt for how they had treated me. I felt their stares weigh down on me like heavy cloaks. I had proven myself, yet I was still an outcast in their eyes. Yet, in the heart of that storm, when chaos reigned and fear spread through the air, I knew that my solitary view atop the hill mattered. I was not merely looking at troops, I was a voice seeking to be heard. And though it seemed too late, I dedicated myself to ensuring the survival of my village. In those moments of crisis, I learned that I could carve my place in history, not just as a mere observer, but as one who stood ready to protect where I called home. As the battle erupted, calls for loyalty rang out. As villagers who once mocked me grasped their weapons with resolve, it was in this frenzy that I felt the deepest connection to my misunderstood essence. Here I was, fighting not only the soldiers who marched upon us, but the very perception that had held me captive for so long. The truth I had seen for miles now unfolded in front of me, and in that distance, I found my voice again, the voice of the dismissed turning into a rallying cry. In the end, we stood strong against the onslaught, a motley crew of villagers united by circumstances. With Emilia at my side, charging forward, we fought not just against an invading army, but against a history of prejudice. And as our swords clashed and hearts raced, I told myself I would never again be silenced. The battle raged on, but in fighting back alongside my village, I discovered the truth that I had long sought. It mattered not whether I was seen as a simpleton or a visionary. What mattered was the strength of spirit and the weight our voices carry during the most trying times. So, if this tale resonated with you, if you find yourself rooting for the misfits who dare to dream against the odds, then stay with us. Join the community at Medieval Stories, where every story has a heartbeat and every voice deserves to be heard. Subscribe now, and let's embark on this journey together, through time where the extraordinary is often hidden in the shadows of the ordinary. Your support means the world, encouraging us to keep bringing these incredible stories to life. Remember, dear friends, truth can sometimes be found where we least expect it. As the final clash played out under the darkening sky, it became evident that our resolve was stronger than the fear bred from ignorance. Together, we found our rhythm, a dance of survival, where even I, Alaric the boy, whose mind often wandered too far, discovered my prowess. I wielded my sword alongside the villagers who had once scorned me, each swing carrying with it the weight of countless dismissals now transformed into urgency and purpose. In the chaos of battle, time felt elastic, stretching and pulling in ways I had never imagined. I fought not just for the village, but for respect, for my voice, and for a future where my mind wouldn't be seen as a curse, but as a gift. Each soldier that fell was a testament to my vision, each clash of metal igniting a sense of triumph within me. The army that came to conquer us reckoned with more than mere numbers. They faced our unity, the unyielding spirit of those united by a common cause. Yet, I held on to the awareness that the battle was not merely fought on fields soaked in blood. It was also a struggle against the tide of doubt that had once filled my days, those long hours of solitude where even the simplest of minds were seen as less valuable. It was crucial to convey that strength is not merely a measure of physicality. It is the acknowledgement of each person's role, be they bold warriors or the watchers in the back lines. As we pushed back against our invaders, the cries of my fellow villagers filled me with a sense of fervor. "For Eldenwood!" they shouted, voices raised like lances against the encroaching darkness. In their eyes, I saw a reflection of my own determination, a shared battle against our past, against the judgment and disdain that had too long defined our lives. No longer was I the fool in a village. I was a beacon, guiding not only myself but countless others who had felt the sting of ridicule. The sun dipped lower, casting shadows on the field of conflict, and I could see Emilia in the thick of it, her spirit untamed and fierce. She had rallied many to arms, and the sight of her, once just a child who believed in me, now holding her own with her toy sword, transformed into a makeshift weapon, filled me with pride. She was not merely a supporting character in this tale. She was a hero in her right, the embodiment of the courage we all needed to summon. Through the upheaval, I caught glimpses of the soldiers opposing US faces filled with anger, confusion, and perhaps respect. They had come believing us simple, unprepared hamlets to conquer, and here we stood, fiercely and steadfastly presenting an unexpected challenge. I realized that this encounter was not just a battle for survival. It was a battle of ideologies, of how we viewed one another, of the flickering flame of belief in ourselves and others. As hours passed, weariness began to saturate the air, clinging to our skin like a heavy cloak. I fought on, driven by the memories of laughter that once pierced me, those taunts now twisted into fuel for my fervor. Even in the throes of exhaustion, I remained vigilant. I found myself questioning, was this how valor was defined? Not merely in victory, but in persistence, in defiance against ignorance, and in the unwavering commitment to fight for what is just, for every soul that had ever felt out of place. Then it happened. An opening appeared. With a swift maneuver, I cut through an enemy soldier, his armor glinting dully in the fading light. It struck me how quickly the tides could shift. In seconds, all the rejection I had felt morphed into a singular purpose. I caught sight of the enemy captain, his figure looming like a dark shadow against the dying light, and something deep within me surged forward. Was this the moment when my resolve would culminate into something greater? With newfound determination, I pressed forward, determination coursing in my veins. The captain's eyes widened as I approached, a fool turned warrior. Perhaps here lay a lesson he never foresaw: how the underestimated can rise to the occasion, how the dismissed can turn into victors. Our swords clashed, and in that moment, I felt the weight of everyone's hopes on my shoulders, a palpable pressure, but one that ignited my spirit further. The battle, however fierce, taught me an invaluable lesson. I was not just a pawn in someone else's story. I had become the author of my own destiny. I could feel the energy of the villagers around me transform. No longer were they merely bystanders. They were fighters infused with empowerment. The perception of Alaric, once a boy lost in his mind, became that of a leader, a symbol of resilience against the tide of doubt. The tide turned, and as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow over the battlefield, I struck my final blow against the captain. He fell before me, and I stood over him, a realization sweeping through me that the true battle lay not in overcoming others, but rather in reclaiming the power we all intrinsically held within. The villagers rallied behind me, and together we repelled our foe, sending them retreating back toward the realm from which they came. As silence engulfed the field, a profound hush settled over Eldenwood, the remnants of clash echoing in the air. Glances from my fellow villagers turned to me, with expressions shifting from disbelief to awe. In their eyes, I saw my victory, but more importantly, I saw the awakening of Hopia Stone cast into the waters of their fears. With the echoes of battle fading, I felt not just relief but the profound growth of a community united by a shared purpose. We had fought for more than mere survival. We had fought for our identities, for a redefined understanding of our worth. No longer would we be labeled simpletons. We were warriors, scholars, and dreamers, and together we forged a new path forward, one that's shining brightly amidst the remnants of darkness. If this tale resonates with you, and if you dare to stand for those who struggle for their voices to be heard, then become a part of our journey at Medieval Stories. Click that subscribe button and join a community where every heart can tell its story, every voice can echo through time, and together we can uncover more extraordinary tales from the annals of history. Your support matters, reminding us that within each of us lies an untold story waiting to illuminate the pages of history. Follow along as we continue to explore the intricacies of human experience, where every twist and turn of fate rewrites what we thought we knew about the past. In the aftermath, as the dust settled over Eldenwood, we gathered together as a community. A bond forged in the fire of battle melded us together, and the weight of fear that had once lingered in the air dissipated like fog under the morning sun. Together, we tended to the wounded, celebrated our narrow escape, and mourned those who had fallen in the fight. Each person told their tale of valor that day. Their fears turned into fierce bravery, and I realized how deep our resilience ran. Slowly, as the days turned into weeks, our village began to heal. The scars of battle remained, visible in the broken structures and the memory of loss, but we rebuilt from the ground up. Together, we transformed Eldenwood not just from the battle, but from the understanding that had shifted among us. The villagers who had mocked me now came to me for guidance, seeking my thoughts on rebuilding not just our homes but our spirits. In time, I found myself at the center of community discussions, the once overlooked boy now recognized for the keen insights others had failed to see. I held meetings in the village square, where we talked about defense strategies, resource management, and ways to integrate the lessons learned from our conflict into our daily lives. It felt surreal, the transformation from an outsider to a leader, all sparked by the fire of necessity and the bonds we had forged in battle. One evening, as the sun painted the sky in hues of orange and purple, Emilia approached me while I was sketching plans for our new watchtower. "Alaric," she said, her voice imbued with the warmth of friendship, "do you think we'll ever have to fight again?" I pondered her question, brushing dirt from my hands and looking into her earnest eyes. "I hope not, Emilia, but if we must, we will be ready. Seasons change, and so do people. Our strength lies not just in arms, but in unity, understanding, and the wisdom we share. It was an awakening for both of us, a realization that our village's survival depended on fostering bonds instead of walls. Through the shared hard work and dedication, the villagers began to look beyond their previous prejudices. They opened their minds to the perspectives of those they had once deemed lesser. With each collaboration, each neighbor helping another, we dismantled the barriers that had once divided us. The plowshares of growth replaced the swords of conflict, and it was a beautiful sight to behold. One afternoon, while observing the growth of crops and hearing the laughter of children playing nearby, I felt a surge of gratitude. I looked toward Emilia, whose laughter intertwined with that of the youth, reminding me of the innocence we fought to protect. It dawned on me then that the legacy of that battle merged with the future we were constructing. We wouldn't just defend our homes. We would cultivate a society where every voice was valued, whether it belonged to knights or dreamers. In the months that followed, Eldenwood began to thrive, drawing neighboring villages to us in trade, fostering relationships that once seemed impossible. News of our struggles and triumph spread far and wide, transforming Eldenwood into a symbol of resilience amidst adversity. We became known not just for our bravery, but for our capacity to care. And in the wake of war, compassion blossomed. Yet, in the deepest corners of my heart, I always remained aware that the world outside our village still simmered with conflict. While we basked in the warmth of our newfound camaraderie, threats lingered just beyond the horizon. The remnants of the invading army were still out there, and while they had retreated today, the possibility of their return weighed heavily on my mind. In winter, a formal council was held in our village, a gathering of leaders from surrounding communities brought together to discuss pressing matters. As I spoke to our visitors, I noticed how their eyes lingered on Medi's belief, subtly shifting into respect. It was a striking realization that the battlefield had shaped me into someone they felt was worth listening to. We debated strategies for defense and alliances in case war struck again. Together we brainstormed ways to bolster our defenses. The realization that strength lies not just in numbers, but in heart, and collaboration echoed through the hall. It was empowering to witness how we directly shaped the narratives that had once bound us and how we continue to rewrite our story in the face of adversity. As spring approached, the air filled with blooming flowers, symbolizing renewal. I found my hands covered in the soil as I helped set the foundation for our new community structures, this time built on trust and unity. The children of Eldenwood ran freely, their laughter like music to my ears, reminding me that hope was alive, and it thrived even in the shadow of uncertainty. Still, a part of me knew that vigilance was essential. I began organizing training sessions, teaching those willing to learn the forms of combat and defense. The villagers transformed from simple farmers into warriors once more as they practiced. Hope braided itself into the strength of our resolve. Each person carried an increased awareness, sharpening their intuition, for I wanted them to never forget the lessons learned from our history. I stood with them on the training fields, and for a fleeting moment, I remembered the boy I once was, dismissed and overlooked by those around me. My mind had once been viewed as a hindrance, but now it was valued tool that could be utilized to forge a better future. In every lesson, I imparted not just techniques of combat, but an insistence that every heart, every story matters, teaching them to see beyond the surface and embrace the untapped potential within. With each sunset that painted the village in warm tones, I understood that my journey had only just begun. We were not merely surviving after the battle. We were thriving in the promise of what community can achieve when the walls we build are ones of unity rather than division. Each shared experience lit the path toward a brighter future, revealing that every voice, every person, has a part to play in the grand tapestry of life. As the final chill of winter gave way to the blooming vibrance of spring, the villagers of Eldenwood, forever changed by battle, continued to cultivate not just their lands, but also their relationships and understanding of one another. It was within this promise of renewal that I stood, a testimony to the strength of community, the journey of growth, and the recognition that each story we forge, however humble, contributes to the legacy we leave behind. So, if you feel inspired by the tales of those who rise against adversity, who seek unity instead of division, follow us on this journey at Medieval Stories. Subscribe to be part of a community that celebrates the intricate dance of the human experience, where every story unfolds in unexpected ways, illuminating the paths of both the feared and the fearless alike. Together, we can delve into history's most incredible moments, exploring the heart of what it means to be human. Your voice matters, and in this shared narrative, every heartbeat echoes with significance. As summer settled over Eldenwood, vibrant colors painted our landscape and filled the air with life and joy. It was a time for celebration, a festival to honor our survival and unity, and to commemorate the strength of a community that had wrested its fortune from the jaws of darkness. The villagers came together, assembling colorful banners to decorate the square, each hue a reflection of the spirit that now filled our hearts. The festival began with a feast, tables overflowing with an abundance of food, freshly baked bread, roasted meats, and fruits glistening in the golden light. Laughter intermingled with the aroma of the bounty, creating a melody that echoed beyond the village boundaries. In this gathering, I found a true sense of belonging, a recognition that each person contributed to the richness of our shared experience. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a warm glow upon the festivities, we shared tales of our battles, not in somber tones, but with a fervor that demonstrated our growth. I listened intently as neighbors recounted their individual feats during the invasion, turning what had been a struggle into a source of pride. Each story shared reminded us all of how interwoven our fates had become, how together we had become a catalyst for change, redefining what it meant to belong. Emilia, dressed in a wreath of flowers, stood before the gathered crowd with an infectious smile. Today, we celebrate not just our survival, but our stories, she proclaimed, her voice rising above the noise. Small children bounced with excitement, and even the older folks nodded in agreement, moved by the truth in her words. This was a celebration of resilience and the newfound understanding that had blossomed in the wake of turmoil. The night continued with music and dance, a lively celebration that brightened even the darkest corners of our hearts. Eldenwood came alive, and I found myself swept up in the joy of the moment, dancing alongside my neighbors with every step. A healing occurred. The burdens we once carried faded against the backdrop of vibrant melodies and the collective joy of a community united. As festivities surrounded me, a soft voice broke through the revelry. Alaric. It was Emilia, her expression shifting from excitement to curiosity as she pulled me aside. "Can I ask you something?" She led me away from the bustling crowd to a quiet corner with the sounds of laughter softened into the background. "Of course," I replied, intrigued by the seriousness in her tone. "Do you still think about what happened?" she asked, her eyes searching mine. "The battle. How you felt then?" Her question struck me, and I allowed myself a moment to reflect. The echoes of that day lingered within me, but I welcome those memories now, no longer marred by the weight of despair. "I do," I finally answered, "but I see it differently now. That experience opened my eyes to the strength we all possess when faced with adversity." Emilia nodded thoughtfully, the wisdom of youth reflected in her gaze. "We've all changed, haven't we? I've never seen people work so hard together, and it feels like our hearts are united now." "That's exactly it, Emilia," I said, a smile creeping onto my lips. "We've learned that our true power lies not in standing alone, but in standing together. We each play a part in our village's story, just as we did on that very day. As the night wore on, the festival carried us through laughter, dancing, and the rekindling of friendships forged in fire. I felt a surge of hope as I gazed out at my kinno, longer defined by narrow-minded views, or who they were judged to be, but empowered citizens who had taken control of their narrative. Weeks turned into months as summer lazily rolled into autumn, bringing a slight chill that danced in the evening air, while the memories of our triumph echoed in the heart of Eldenwood. The knowledge that threats still loomed beyond our borders remained present. One fateful day, the news came me a report of scouts spotted investigating our village from the neighboring area. Anxiety rippled through the community as we gathered in the town square, tension thickening the air like a storm cloud. I looked at the faces around me. The joy we had cultivated over the summer surrendered to the fear of what might come. Yet, amidst the unease, I sensed the heartbeat of our resolve thrumming stronger than ever. Together, we had weathered the storm once before. As I stood at the forefront of the gathering, I called for order. "Friends, we know that threats may linger, but we have faced them before, and we are not the same village we once were. We are stronger, wiser, and more united. Let us prepare not with despair, but with determination, leveraging the lessons we learned." Whispers of agreement spread through the crowd, and faces transformed from worry to resolve. Together, we devised plans organizing patrols, fortifying our defenses, and conducting drills to ensure everyone felt empowered. This was a collective effort, a testament to our shared belief that no force of nature or man could break the bonds we had forged. As the days turned into weeks, we braced for the unknown, still celebrating our newfound unity while remaining ever watchful. Evening trainings transformed into a nightly ritual, where laughter intertwined with the sounds of swords clashing together. I stood before them, guiding each lesson, teaching them not just to fight, but to remain vigilant and aware of their surroundings. One cool evening, with the shimmering stars overhead, I noticed Emilia sparring with some of the younger villagers, her determination radiating with every thrust of her wooden sword. "Remember," I called out, "every stance matters. It's not just about strength, but positioning and strategy." She nodded without losing focus, embodying everything we had worked together to build. It was proof that we had not just grown in numbers, but in spirited transformation that made my heart swell. As autumn deepened, stories of other villages faring similar hardships spread throughout the region. Conversations evolved, focusing not just on survival, but on the shared wisdom gained from experiences. We found allies in unexpected places, Villagers from other removed communities reached out, offering support and reinforcing the bonds between us. The once clear demarcation between us and our neighbors became increasingly blurred, and I'd invite leaders from various communities to share tales of resilience and strategy. Every meeting left me inspired. Every shared experience was a building block to a new narrative, a narrative of interconnectedness. This newfound form of camaraderie bolstered our confidence. It transformed our perspective from mere reactionary forces to proactive defenders of our values and livelihoods. And in that synergy, a lesson emerged, echoed through the essence of Eldenwood's strength, is deeply rooted in unity and shared experiences. As winter approached, we held our breath, vigilant and ready, yet hopeful that our arduous preparations would stay the tide of conflict. Eldenwood had woven its story of survival into a tapestry of understanding, the saga of a village once fragmented, now a community steadfast against adversity, and I stood at the heart of it all. While uncertainty loomed as an ever-present companion, the knowledge that we had come together rallied the spirit of the village, illuminating a light that stood bold against the shadow of doubt. For I had learned that no matter how distant the past felt, it would always serve as a cornerstone upon which we built our brighter future. If you cherish these tales of resilience, of communities woven together through trials and tribulations, then I invite you to embrace the journey with us at Medieval Stories. Subscribe and join a fellowship that thrives on the power of shared narratives, where every story, no matter how small or large, weaves into the grand tapestry of history. Become part of a community where every voice can be heard, every heart expressed, and together we can uncover the extraordinary moments of the past that resonate through time. As winter arrived, the world around Eldenwood transformed into a frosty wonderland. Snow blanketed the fields, and icicles hung from roofs like shards of crystal. The biting cold brought with it a stillness that wrapped around the village, a stark contrast to the lively energy that had filled the air during the autumn festival. Yet, beneath the surface, an undeniable tension simmered as if the earth itself was holding its breath, awaiting whatever might come next. Gathered in the village hall, we embraced the chill together, stoically preparing for the possibility of an attack during the long nights. We battened down the hatches and pooled our resources, ensuring that every home had enough food and warmth to endure the coldest months ahead. The sense of camaraderie had never been stronger, despite the shadows lurking at the edges of our peace. As snow fell gently outside, cloaking the world in white, we initiated a nightly tradition of storytelling that warmed our hearts. Around the flickering fires, generations gathered, young and old, sharing tales that spanned fantastical legends of heroes and dragon-slaying knights to personal anecdotes of overcoming adversity. Each tale rekindled the spirit of our unity and reminded us that we were not alone in this world. We had each other. Emilia often took center stage, her voice ringing clear as she recounted her adventures and dreams. One day, she would say with a spark in her eye, "I'll help lead our forces to new lands, where we'll meet new friends and create our own stories." We'd smile, heartened by her vision, knowing that the strength we built together could forge new paths amidst uncertainty. One particularly cold evening, as stories flowed like warm cider, I felt a sudden chill that had nothing to do with the winter air. A messenger arrived, breathless and battered, pushing through the village hall door. "There's movement in the north," he blurted, collapsing into our midst. A scouting party spotted an approaching band of soldiers. Silence enveloped the hall, a palpable tension, settling like oppressive smoke as the weight of the message sank in. Eyes widened, hushed murmurs filled the space. We leaned in closer, grasping for more information. The messenger spoke quickly, describing the enemy's numbers and intentions. Fresh tension stirred within us, a premonition of what awaited. As the shock wore off, the urgency set in. I stood before the villagers, feeling the instinct to rally our spirits ignite within me. We've faced challenges before. This is no different, I proclaimed, my voice rising above the anxious whispering. We are stronger than we were, and we will stand together. Prepare the defenses and gather the young, the old, everyone who can fight. This is our home, and we will protect it. The air charged with an electricity I hadn't felt in a long time. Courage surged through me, igniting the villagers' weariness with determination. As the murmur transformed into decisive action, I proceeded to coordinate our defenses, calling upon neighbors and allies from nearby villages who believed in our cause. With our newfound allies rallying to support us, preparations escalated rapidly. Transitioning from years of cultivating peace, I quickly found my footing as a leader once more. We gathered supplies, weapons, and positioned ourselves strategically around the perimeter, creating a web of protection. Each person took pride in their role, be it a fighter ready to defend their home or a nurturing soul caring for the children and elderly, ensuring that everyone mattered. In the nights that followed, the sky turned darker, the cold becoming sharper. Fear thrummed beneath our surface, but we grew resolute in our anticipation. Sleep became a rare commodity, and our dreams morphed into visions of battle, safety, and ultimately, triumph, as we all prepared mind, body, and spirit for whatever might come our way. Emilia and I took time to train the youngsters, imparting the wisdom we had gained through hardship. Every battle is an opportunity, I told them, feeling as though I was standing on the precipice of history. An opportunity to prove your worth, to defend those you love. Fear is natural, but it must not dictate your actions. Stand firm, push back, and remember that we have each other. With each training session, I felt the strength of our community blossom. Young and old moved with purpose, channeled energy flowing through every exercise. I couldn't help but draw strength from the sight the future of Eldenwood standing resolute, embodying the spirit of resilience we had cultivated. Days turned into tense nights, each moment stretched thin with the weight of anticipation. The landscape transformed as winter deepened its grasp on our world, but I felt the pulse of life still thriving within us. Eldenwood was alive. We were alive, bound by shared determination. Then, the moment Camia's stark break in the cold that afternoon marked the undeniable approach. Silence hung heavy in the air. The flurry of snowflakes seemed to pause, giving way to the distant sounds of marching feet. The steady beat of drums echoed like a heartbeat. As they drew closer, adrenaline surging through my veins as I turned to my fellow villagers. "This is it," I shouted, rallying the gathered warriors. "Let us stand together, shoulder to shoulder. We are not just defending our land, we are defending our stories, our families. Remember what brought us here. Stand firm, and we shall prevail." As the enemy drew nearer, a surge of energy enveloped USA blend of fear and fierce determination. I could see the shadows of their ranks stretching against the backdrop of a somber sky, and clarity washed over me. "Prepare to fight," I bellowed, the heat of resolve rekindling a fire within. The warriors grabbed their weapons, the air crackling with electric emotion. No longer were we mere villagers. We stood as a united front, warriors, forged by experience, emerging from the shadows of doubt into the bright light of courage. The distant foe marched on, and at that moment, we came to understand something profound. We were ready, for we each fought not just for survival, but to reclaim our story, to weave a brighter future together. So, if you are inspired by stories of resilience and the power of unity, join us as we continue this journey at Medieval Stories. Subscribe and connect with a community that celebrates the strength of shared narratives, where every heart and voice resonates throughout history. Together, we shall uncover the truths of our past, while exploring how they shape our destiny in the present and beyond. As the enemy loomed closer, adrenaline pulsed through my veins, mingling with a sense of clarity that sharpened my resolve. We stood on the precipice, bound together by a common purpose, defending Eldenwood and all we had fought to build. I exchanged fierce glances with my fellow villagers. We were not just neighbors anymore. We were family, and together we would face the storm. With a deep breath, I steadied my resolve and raised my sword. "For Eldenwood!" I shouted, my voice ringing out over the gathering darkness. The battle cry rolled through our ranks, igniting the faces of elders and youth alike, the strength of our community surging in the air like a tidal wave. As the enemy marched closer, I could see their banners unfurling dark and menacing against the wintry sky, reminding us of the odds we faced. Just as the distant, thunderous footsteps accelerated, I gestured for our defenders to assume their positions. Each warrior took their place along the barricades we had built, fortified with courage, raised swords, and sharpened minds. Our training had prepared us for this moment. Our stories of perseverance fused us together into something formidable. I took my place at the forefront, the embodiment of the spirit we had nurtured within Eldenwood. As the opposing army closed in, I could feel the collective heartbeat of my community, steady and resolute. They were not the invaders. We were the defenders of our tale, and this time we would not back down. As the enemy finally halted, their formation firm and imposing, I could see their commander a glint of arrogance mirrored in the icy sunlight. He raised his arm, signaling for silence. "Villagers of Eldenwood," he called, his voice booming across the distance. "You have long hidden behind your walls. Surrender, and we shall show you mercy." Their arrogance sparked something deep within me. "Mercy?" I called back, my voice unwavering. "Mercy is earned through respect, not demanded through intimidation. We do not seek your version of mercy, we choose our destiny. We will stand and fight for our home and our future." A murmur rippled through the enemy ranks. Confusion mingled with irritation. I felt the pulse of my people behind me, fury and resolve radiating like a bonfire on the bitter night. Something stirred in me, a realization that our combined spirit was unmatched, drawing upon the power of every individual who believed we could craft our path. Without warning, the enemy charged forward, a force propelled by momentum, as if the very earth trembled beneath their advance. "Get ready!" I shouted, the call lacing through our ranks. The air crackled with energy as warriors clutched their weapons tightly, bracing themselves for the onslaught. The chaotic clash erupted like thunder. Swords clashed against shields, and the icy air filled with shouts and cries as the two forces met in an eruption that shook the very ground. My heart raced as I fought alongside villagers who, not long ago, had been strangers. Together, we surged forward, moving as one entity, an unbreakable line against the storm of chaos. I fought fiercely, anticipating and evading blows, channeling each encounter as a dance between life and death, a leap of faith that pushed me deeper into the heart of the battle. Each swing of my sword was not just a movement. It was a testament to every individual's story, every hardship we endured together. In this frenzy of conflict, I realized I was no longer a boy labeled as different. I was Alaric, a fighter with purpose. Among the chaos, I caught sight of Emilia, shining with fierce determination as she moved fluidly, her spirit igniting those around her. "Alaric!" she called out, weaving through the throngs. "We have to push forward together." With her calling ringing in my ears, I rallied my support and fought toward her side, carving a path through the throng. As we pressed forward, I saw the fear shift into hope and inspiration, igniting the warriors surrounding us. We pushed against the encroaching tide, our determination a living, breathing force driving our resolute stance. Each clash became a reminder of what we were fighting for: our village, our kin, and the legacy we would build. The enemy, once an imposing force, now faced the resolute spirit of a village transformed not merely by events past, but by their very perseverance to rise, to reclaim their narrative. "Aim for their leader," I shouted, drawing focused attention to the enemy commander who rallied his ranks to push us back. We surged forward as one, dislodging the inertia we had built with every shared laugh and every story. With one final push, we broke through the last line of defense, and I felt an exhilarating surge of power as we confronted the commander. "This ends now," I declared, brandishing my sword in defiance. The oppressor's arrogance flickered, revealing a trace of doubt against the strength of our resolve. With a fierce determination, I met his advance head-on, sword clashing against sword. It was a dance of wills, a test of spirit amidst the chaos surrounding us. As we parried and retaliated, echoes of battle surrounded us, a medley of determination and resilience. The struggle intensified, each blow a reminder of what had borne us to this moment. The dreams we harbored, the bonds we had forged, the laughter and tears that stitched our community together. I would not falter. I would not yield. With one last stroke, I encountered a brief opening and struck true his sword, clanging to the ground as he stumbled, shock registering on his face. In a heartbeat, our fight shifted, resolute against fear. Our rhythm accelerated, the rhythm of villagers defending their home against those who sought to take it away. As he fell, I felt the weight of our joint history settle into the ground beneath me. The momentum shifted dramatically. The enemy ranks faltered as uncertainty spread like wildfire. They turned to escape, confusion swirling amongst them as they began to scatter. "Forward! For Eldenwood!" echoed through the ranks, my voice joining the call of faith and strength. We surged, pushing them back, reclaiming not just our homes but the very essence of our community. With victory ignited in our hearts, we drove the last of the intruders away, scattering their forces into the depths of the wilderness. Surrounded by my comrades, I allowed myself a moment of triumph, of relief that coursed through our collective spirit, pulsating with what we had accomplished together. In the aftermath of the chaos, as silence blanketed the battlefield, we turned toward each other. The connections forged in strife resonated like a harmony, a chorus of strength reverberating through our spirits. We had reclaimed something irreplaceable: sovereignty, our relationship with one another, and the understanding that together we could withstand even the fiercest of storms. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting rays of hope across a battlefield now stained with evidence of our struggle, I looked upon my fellow villagers and felt an overwhelming surge of gratitude. We had faced each challenge head-on, not as strangers bound by circumstance, but as a family, and together we had emerged victorious. If you find strength in the stories of resilience and courage against all odds, then join us in this ongoing journey at Medieval Stories. Subscribe and become a part of a community that cherishes the power of shared narratives, where every voice transforms into a piece of history waiting to be told. Together, let us uncover the essence of what it means to stand tall against life's greatest challenges, revealing the extraordinary within the ordinary. As the sun set on the battlefield, casting long shadows over the remnants of conflict, I took a moment to steady my breath. The air was thick with the weight of our collective effort and the sacrifices we had made to defend Eldenwood. Healing wounds were beginning to show, but within them lay the seeds of new growth, a foundation built upon resilience and unity. I glanced around, observing the faces of my fellow villagers. They were weary but illuminated with the spark of hard-won victory. We exchanged nods of acknowledgement, recognizing the bond that had solidified through our shared struggle. This was not merely a triumph over invaders, it was a testament to our strength and the depth of our spirit, an epic story we would continue to write together. With a determined spirit, we began tending to the aftermath of the battle. Together, we cleared the remains of conflict, gathering fallen weapons and debris, transforming what could have been a memorial for loss into a symbol of our resolve. The rhythm of our efforts became a heart-beat pulse that united us as we worked side by side, transitioning from warriors into caretakers of our home. In the days following the battle, we held a gathering to honor those who had fought valiantly, even those who had been lost. We could not dismiss their sacrifices. It was critical we acknowledge their courage. At twilight, we lit lanterns around the village square, illuminating the night with soft, flickering light. Each flame represented a story, a memory, and a vow that our efforts would carry forward in honor of those who had given their all. As we gathered in the square, I reflected on the shared stories that had brought us together, the tales of struggle and perseverance. Emilia stood beside me, her eyes shining with innocence and hope. "Will we tell their stories, Alaric?" she asked softly, referring to those we lost. "Yes, we will," I promised, kneeling to her level. "We will tell the stories of every brave soul who defended our home, just as we share our own tales. Their courage and legacy will live in our hearts, teaching us what it means to stand united." Under the serene glow of the lanterns, we recounted the memories of the fallen, turning our loss into an enduring flame that would guide our village forward. Each story shared around that fire became a commitment. We would not simply remember. We would carry their legacy into the future, ensuring their bravery inspired generations to come. As winter melted into spring, the rhythm of life in Eldenwood adapted yet again. We embraced a renewed spirit of discovery, transforming our focus from defense to growth. Fields previously marred by conflict began to flourish once more, overtaken by green shoots of new plant life, a testament to resilience that echoed our history. Children played in the meadows, laughter ringing through the gentle breeze as they ran joyously through vibrant blossoms emerging from winter's grip. I found solace in these moments, witnessing the future take root as the community thrived amidst the backdrop of our rich history. Eldenwood had changed. It was no longer just a small village beside the forest. It had become a symbol of fortitude, a sanctuary where every story mattered, and every person was a vital thread in the tapestry we continued to weave. With the warm days of spring awakening around us, I encouraged the villagers to embark on endeavors that would enrich our community. We organized festivals to celebrate our heritage, activities that allowed us to share stories of courage while fostering collaboration. By joining together in celebration, we healed deeper wounds, knitting tangles of loss into an integrated shared narrative of humanity. Emilia became a pivotal figure in spreading hope throughout the village. I watched as she led her peers, organizing games and displays that honored our victories, while also exploring vibrant traditions treasured by our community. The local musicians joined the festivities, their melodies filling the air, guiding the spirits of villagers to new heights. There was a magic in those moments, the collective heartbeat of Eldenwood rising above its challenges. I often joined her efforts, sharing wisdom and mentoring young leaders who emerged from our shared experience. They were not just the future, they were our present. Their ideas, dreams, and unwavering beliefs echoed with the potential to forge new roads as they explored ideas for what Eldenwood could become. Under the soft light of dusk one evening, Emilia approached me, her excitement palpable. "Alaric, I have an idea. What if we hold a grand festival not just in Eldenwood, but invite Othersaw, the villages we've connected with after the battle? We could share our stories with them and find strength in our unity." Her enthusiasm rejuvenated me, and I saw the spark of possibility ignite within her. "That's a wonderful idea, Emilia. A festival of unity where all can celebrate together. We must invite others to join us and share their stories. This will empower us, while also reminding everyone of the strength that lies in numbers." As preparations unfolded, the excitement in the air became electric. Villagers from neighboring towns shared their own contributions, and each festival emerged rich with the beauty of diverse traditions. Our united efforts turned the meadows of Eldenwood into an enchanting space, filled with stalls, performances, and the mingling scent of delicious food prepared from recipes passed down through generations. In the days leading up to the festival, Eldenwood became an epicenter of shared histories. Our invitations carried the sentiment of unity, inviting everyone to gather, rejoice, and tell their stories of survival, transformation, and hope. Upon the day of the festival, the sun rose brilliantly, casting a golden hue over our village and spilling forth warmth into our hearts. We welcomed visitors from far and wide, villagers expressing gratitude for our invitations and willingness to share a day of joy. Faces illuminated with joy greeted one another, laughter and shouts ringing through the air like music. As the festival commenced, I looked over the jubilant scene, the villagers of Eldenwood dancing, stories shared amidst the mingling of diverse cultures. It was a remarkable tapestry that validated our beliefs. We are stronger together, and our shared stories form an intricate web of support. Emilia was the heartbeat of that day. She took to the center stage, and her voice rang clear. "Welcome, friends. We are here to celebrate not only our survival, but our incredible stories of bravery that are woven into our existence. Together, we can ensure that these legacies endure forever." The day unfolded in a whirlwind of performances, each storytelling session revealing unique histories. Laughter mingled with tears as we embraced the fullness of life, its trials, its sorrows, and its triumphs. As I witnessed tales of courage from others, I felt the connections we shared strengthen the strands of privilege and pain, the will to rise, and the joy that binds us all together. As evening descended upon us, we gathered for one last celebration around a great bonfire, flames flickering with the promise of warmth and unity. I took a moment to absorb the vibrant imagery before me, the age-old tapestry of humanity on display, woven with our communal threads of life. We lit lanterns beneath the stars, illuminating the sky as symbols of hope that drifted like whispered dreams into the night. Regaining connection with our past, reveling in support for the present, we unified our stories while forging a path toward future aspirations. And at that moment, I knew that Eldenwood would thrive not merely as a bastion against conflict, but as a beacon of hope illuminating the road of the future. I found resolve within the voices, the dreams, and the stories we shared, reminding me that courage lies not just in battle, but in the embrace of our collective humanity. In that realization, I understood. If you find inspiration in the strength of community and the unparalleled power of stories shared, then join us on this journey at Medieval Stories. Subscribe and be part of a fellowship that cherishes the shared experiences that bind us all together. Together, let us unveil the extraordinary moments that shape our history, illuminating the beauty found in our intertwined tales as we continue to explore the depths of human resilience, love, and the power of unity.